6-page letter sent to Congress last night, Attorney General Pam Bondi writes, quote, in accordance with the requirements of the Epstein Files Transparency Act, and as described in various department submissions to the courts of the Southern District of New York assigned to the Epstein and Maxwell prosecutions and related orders, the department released all records, documents, communications, and investigative materials in the position of the department that relate to any of 9 different categories.
For what?
Possession.
Yeah.
You may remember that 2 weeks ago, the DOJ released more than 3 million pages of documents in what it claimed was its final release, even though they admitted to having nearly 3 million more pages that they held back. As stated in the law,
how you feel?
The DOJ had 15
Your stomach alright? Huh?
Any redactions made.
No.
Documents withheld, including
I like it. I like this one.
the new record states that the only records withheld
No, but I like this one.
were those for which such withholding is permitted under the text of the bill, as well as certain privileged materials like attorney-client privilege or deliberative process privilege, which the Act has no carve-outs for. It's not in the bill at all. In addition, the DOJ was also required to provide a list of all government officials and politically exposed people named in the documents, something long sought after by Epstein survivors and many members of Congress. What the DOJ provided is 3 pages with more than 300 names, but nowhere does the DOJ differentiate between those whose names may have surfaced in news stories or random conversations versus those with direct contact to Epstein or mentioned in the statements of Epstein survivors.
Trucks built to handle every adventure.
I mean, basically, why would you not consider yourself a Muslim?
I have issues with Islamic faith, okay? My major issue is that, I got a lot of hate for my lecture, okay? But I believe that organized religion, it changed over time. So maybe in the beginning, it had certain ideas. But in order to accommodate empire, in order to accommodate politics, it shifted over time to become much more conformist, become much more static. I don't like that. My sympathies are toward connection with God directly, right? So rather than have an intermediary telling you what God thinks, well, you should be able to feel God in your heart. And I mean, like, people have said I'm agnostic, or I'm a Luciferian. I don't know what these terms mean, okay? But I believe that we're all individuals with the divine spark in us. And so we should be all able to connect directly to God. We should all be able to exercise our imagination, our intuition.
We talked about communism and your predictions. So, okay, the one that I watched 2 nights ago about Islamic Empire, the way you talk about Islam it sounds, well, from my perspective, obviously I'm biased, you speak with a different sort of righteousness in your voice, and also you did want to go visit Mecca. And my favorite part of this lecture was you were talking about the weaknesses and the advantages of each faith. And you mentioned in Christianity that the benefit was that it was a religion of empire, that the Romans use it as power and control, right? But the weakness was that the Trinity didn't make any sense to you, or to many people, even a lot of Christians, right?
It makes no sense at all.
Why does the Trinity not make any sense to you?
Right. Well, because we think through intuition, right? So, like, how do we know something is right? Well, we know something is right because it sounds right, because it connects with us, right? But the entire point of the Holy Trinity, okay, an idea that 3 things can be separate but connected. 3 things that are different from each other can be at one at the same time. It's meant to confuse you. It's meant to create cognitive dissonance. And so when you accept the idea of the Trinity, the idea is that now you open your portal to all sorts of whatever crap propaganda that they want to instill in you as well. And that's why the Holy Trinity is the very basis of the Catholic religion.
Mm-hmm. And remember, the weakness you said about Islam was that it was too simple and clear, which was like that really it struck me because it's like that doesn't sound like a weakness. That sounds like if I'm in a job interview, you'd be like, what are your weaknesses? And I'm like, well, I'm too direct, I'm too simple, and I work too hard. Right? So why would you consider that a weakness?
Well, because we talk to the Frankists. What the Frankists will say is that this is the world of Satan. And so to really rule the world, to really conquer the world, you need to embrace the demonic. You need to be multifaceted. You need to have multiple personalities. You have to, like what you are in the outside has to be different from what you are in the inside. You have to practice depravity. You have to practice manipulation, right? So you're too simple, you're too direct. That limits your maneuverability in politics.
Okay, so it's a weakness because people will take advantage of, because being Islam it's all about submission to God. So that, in terms of empire, it's a weakness. In this,
that's right.
Okay.
That's right.
What's the? What do you disagree at all? I mean, basically, why would you not consider yourself a Muslim?
So I have issues with the Islamic faith, okay? My major issue is that, I got a lot of hate for my lecture, okay? But I believe that organized religion, it changed over time. So maybe in the beginning, it had certain ideas. But in order to accommodate empire, in order to accommodate politics, it shifted over time to become much more conformist, to become much more static. I don't like that. Okay, I mean, I mean, my sympathies are toward connection with God directly, right? So rather have an intermediary telling you what God thinks, well, you should be able to feel God in your heart. Okay? And I mean, like people have said I'm agnostic, or I'm a Luciferian. I don't know what these terms mean, okay? But I believe that we're all individuals with the divine spark in us. And so we should be all able to connect directly to God. And we should all be able to exercise our imagination, our intuition.
So the disagreement is the divinity within? Because in Islam, it's like we don't believe God is within. It's that we worship God because He's divine. Okay, so you think there's divine spark within us?
That's right. That's right.
Okay. Is that not? Isn't that similar? Not exactly, but isn't that a lot what the Frankists believe? That's why they sin. That's why they do things, because sinning is where you get divine power. That's what they believe.
Correct. So the Frankists believe that if we're in this world, we should conquer this world and enjoy the pleasures of this world. Okay. So they believe in longevity. They believe in transhumanism. Okay. And this explains why things are happening the way they are. These billionaires, what are they obsessed with? They're obsessed with living forever, right? Transhumanism. And that's a very Frankist mentality. I, on the other hand, believe that our souls are immortal. And this world is one of many worlds. And we come to this world in order to experience things that we couldn't experience in the astral plane. Okay? Because in the astral plane, you're pure force, your pure energy, right? You can't actually feel pain. You can't have sex. You can't eat any food. So we're here to have these rare, unique experiences that make us more enlightened. And we're here also to bring comfort, to bring enlightenment, to bring joy to others as well. Because that's what makes us really happy, our connections with others. So there are things that we cannot experience elsewhere that we can experience here. And so we should make the most of opportunities while we're here. But at the same time, as these immortal divine souls, we're constantly in the process.
Yeah, you might have to go. Did you take your first blood thinner?
The problem is that if you make a mistake,
Check it, look in there.
You choose a path that is wrong. Okay, for example, you choose to be Jeffrey Epstein, right? Well, there has to be a fail-safe mechanism in order to steer you into the right direction. And that's the fail-safe mechanism is death. Death is relief. Death is catharsis. Right?